Hello friend, welcome back here to Seed and Sparrow Homestead. I'm Kelsey. Today we're talking preparedness. I know that's not normal content for me, but there's a lot of stuff going on in the world. I feel it just needs to be addressed. We don't have to get into the nitty-gritty details of it all. I think it's pretty obvious, but we've got this mass destruction from this hurricane. It's just tragic and heartbreaking. My continued prayers go out to everyone who is dealing with this right now, who has been affected. I know there are a lot of places that you can donate if you do want to take some action there. Admittedly, I've been keeping my social media intake to a minimum, but just a few trusted sources that I know of. I know Homesteaders of America was teaming up with an organization, and I trust Amy, so there's that. Of course, things like Samaritan's Purse. I know Franklin Graham was out there. And then two influencers I follow on Instagram, Purely Parsons and Angel Rose Turner. They're both in Tennessee, but they're both organizing some efforts as well, and I trust both of them. So we've got that going on. We've got war on the horizon. Now we have these strikes happening and a very big decision for our nation impending. So there's just a lot going on. Things are fragile, and we have seen in the past time and again just how quickly fragile things break. We don't know what tomorrow brings, but I believe we can prepare, the best we can for it. I had said recently in another video that there's just a whole lot out of our control, but I do know what is within my control, where I do have some influence and I can make a difference, and then everything else, I just give over to the Lord, because you cannot hold on to that. It will destroy you. You've got to give over what you cannot control. I don't know if careful is the right word, but we'll just go with it. I am careful about what I share and when I share what I share. I don't ever want to speak out of turn or just have things be, my own opinion or 2 cents and have no real substance or wisdom to them. I always prayerfully consider and wait on the Lord, wait on the leading of the Holy Spirit. And I don't ever want to contribute to noise and chaos and fear. I want to help, and I want to see people thriving, and I want to see people safe. So I have been praying about sharing about preparedness, and I feel the Lord has just given me the go-ahead. I feel an urgency in my spirit to bring this to you. So I'm hoping it's well received. I know it's not my usual content. I'm hoping it reaches the right people. So with that, we're going to talk a little bit about preparedness today. We're going to talk about preparedness with wisdom and peace. You can totally do this peacefully. It doesn't have to invoke fear. I think the fear thing comes from just thinking about the unknown and how much control we don't have over the unknown. Comforts we might have to give up. People don't like being uncomfortable, but that's why I prep. I prep so that, the goal in mind I have is so that no matter the circumstances, we can still thrive. And when you are thriving, you are then not part of the need. You can then just contribute to the solution for the need. But peace truly just comes from knowing what you are in control of and what you're not in control of, and giving away what you're not in control of. This is going to be a theme. Giving away what you cannot control. Having a realistic and doable plan, and then taking action. Doing something, just doing the next right thing in front of you. I think the term prepper has some stigma around it, that it's just a bunch of hoarders sitting in their bunkers waiting for doomsday. I don't think that. I mean, there are people who are like that. I don't believe that is healthy. There needs to be balance. It cannot control you or consume you. But I believe there is wisdom in preparedness. We're gonna go to the Bible here quickly. I know many of you don't share my faith, and that's totally fine. I don't expect everyone to share my faith. I hope you don't just click away, because regardless, I think you can get wisdom and direction from this. So Proverbs 6, starting at verse 6, go to the ant, you sluggard. Consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseer or ruler, yet it stores its provisions in summer and gathers its food at harvest. How long will you lie there, you sluggard? When will you get up from your sleep? A little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come on you like a thief, and scarcity like an armed man. And then also in Proverbs 27, verse 12, the prudent sees danger and hides himself, but the simple go on and suffer for it. I could find many more, but those are the first two that came to mind. If you see me looking down, I have notes. I didn't want to miss anything. I'm not always the greatest at formulating my thoughts and having them come out the way I had hoped they would, so I have some things written down. So bear with me. So to keep going with that, preparing does not have to be for end of the world scenarios, just practically speaking. My husband, Matt, we rely on his income to pay our bills, to live. You know, what would happen if for some reason he couldn't work due to an injury or other life circumstance? If he were to lose his job, that would affect us greatly. Preparing helps ease those stickier situations. You know, right now we're dealing with such inflation. What if it gets to the point of where I can't go to the grocery store like how I normally would and afford to buy the things I would normally buy? What if I have to pick and choose? Well, if I have a stocked pantry, that's not going to affect me as much. Consider natural disasters, what we're seeing right now. We don't really see much effects of hurricanes here in Pennsylvania, where I'm at. We've had some ripple effects in the past, seen some heavy downpour, some high winds. We have seen some tornadoes here. Last year we saw one just in the next town over, did some damage. We do deal with snow and ice, and those things can be quite heavy, therefore causing some power outages. So we dealt with that. In February of this year, we had 3 days without power. And then the following week, we had another day without power. That 3-day power outage, though, I mean, that isn't anything crazy prolonged, but it was enough to really show us where we had some gaps in our preparedness. Beyond that, supply chain issues. We've seen them come up in the past, and now at this strike, that could cause some issues. And with this big decision coming up, I'm speaking in code, with this big decision, there's potential for some unrest, if I'm being honest. I see the possibility of some civil unrest there, really no matter the outcome. So, I mean, that's just being real. I think we can't live in fear. We can't allow the things happening around us to control us or consume us. But we can't ignore them either, just hoping they go away. We have to take action, and I believe, friends, it is time for us to get our homes in order, both in the physical, but also spiritually, mentally. Those are really important too. I feel like I need to insert it somewhere, but please don't panic buy. There is no wisdom in that. It's not good. Don't do that. I do encourage you, and hopefully by the end of this video, you want to do it. Make a plan. Just make a plan, something that is achievable for you and your family, that suits your circumstances, to help you become more prepared. So I want to share what Matt and I have been doing to work towards being more prepared. It is by no means an exhaustive list, and we are not experts. We have a lot to learn. There's definitely a lot of gaps that we are working towards filling. But hopefully it's just, if anything, encouraging that, you know, we're just normal everyday people, just trying to do our best. So there is that. If you've been following along with my channel, you have seen my pantry. That is a working pantry. It is not a preparedness pantry, although it functions as one as well. I pull from it daily. I add to it almost daily. I work with the first in, first out system, and it did not happen overnight. Stuff like that does not happen overnight. Like being completely prepared does not happen overnight. Please know that, unless you have a bunch of money laying around, which I don't know that many people have that these days. I know we don't have that just laying around. We have to be very purposeful and wise with where we are investing our finances. And I know a deterrent, I think, to prepping is just the fact that it seems intimidating and overwhelming. There's just a lot. Don't focus on the big picture. Don't focus on the 6-month or year supply of anything. Don't even focus on 3 months. I want you to focus on just 1 week. Get your family what they need for 1 week. You will feel better after you have that 1 week done. And then from there, as you are able, increase it to 3-week supply, and then 6-week supply, and so on and so forth. And by that time, you will feel you are a pro. I do highly recommend to set a goal, an eventual goal, doesn't have to happen all at once, of a 3-month to a 6-month supply on hand. Just because you can't do it all doesn't mean that you should do nothing. Every little bit that you start now doing is going to set you so much further apart than the majority of the country. And when we are prepared, it's not just for our own benefit. We can then help others, help the community, and bless and provide for others where needed. Moving around a little bit, forgive the poor basement lighting, old homes. It is what it is. My apologies. Also, I'm holding my list because I don't want to forget anything. Obviously, first thing on my list is food, non-perishable food items. The rule that I abide by is store what you eat and eat what you store. If you and your family don't enjoy eating beans, don't store the beans. I am coming at this from a working pantry angle. I am not going to store anything that I'm not going to use on a regular basis. So if you don't eat certain things, don't store them, regardless of, okay, beans are nutritious and filling, they're a good protein source, and they are cheap. But if you don't like them and you're not going to eat them, I personally think that would be unwise, an unwise use of space and money. So always abide by the rule, store what you eat and eat what you store. Now, I store things in certain food groups, and I apologize if I'm missing anything. I think I got them all, but grains, fats, proteins, sugar, fruit, veg, salt, and spices. You want to focus on nutritious and filling, but also things that are easily made and that are flavorful. You want to store some things that make food taste good. Think the spices and like garlic, onions. Those make a world of difference. If the need arises that you have to start eating from what you have stored, I think this goes without saying, but always start with the most perishable food first, like what's in your fridge and freezers. And then go on to what you have stored, the non-perishable items or freeze-dried foods. I was not gonna go into a ton of detail about what I have stored. If that is something you'd like me to go into more detail about, please let me know down in the comments and I can make that happen. But for the sake of this video not taking forever and an age, I'm gonna leave it at that. I do want to say, just start with that 1 week of non-perishable food, increase to 3 weeks, and then so on and so forth. I also keep snacks and like some treats, goodies on hand. They don't last as long. We do cycle through these pretty often, but I always like to keep a pretty good stock of some things. Things like chips and crackers. I've got some mac and cheese here, some like fruit bars, coffee, chocolate chips. Those are some good morale boosters, or if you need some caffeine to help you get through whatever it is you're doing, those are good items to have. And then along with the coffee, making sure that you have a way to use that coffee to make it without power. So I actually just ordered a French press, but there's like a pour over, and then what's the other one? Oh, like a percolator type coffee pot that you could put over a fire. So there is that. If you are purchasing, oh my, I have stuff all over, my apologies. If you are purchasing canned goods from the store, make sure you have a manual can opener. That is something I think that gets overlooked. And then, I mean, if you're a canner, I'm sure you have one of the jar openers for these guys. So going along with food, we need a way to prepare said food. We are storing. This guy's not going to work if I don't have power. Even if I have a generator, it is going to take a lot from that generator. Not the best use of fuel if you want to conserve it. So we need alternate ways to prepare our food, to warm it up. There are lots of things you can do, but we have a grill and extra propane tanks. We have a big single propane burner that we use on chicken butchering days that we could use if need be. We have a fire pit with wood, and we are looking into getting an antique cook stove, like the coal or the wood ones. If you have any recommendations on that, please let me know. We know nothing, quite honestly, but it's something we are very interested in. We actually have a hookup for it in our, I don't want to say hookup, we have a chimney in our cookhouse out in the garden. If you've ever seen that little building, it's an old cookhouse where they used to do summer canning. The previous owners had an old wood stove in there, so they already had the chimney built. That is awesome. We would love to find one, but we have no idea what we're looking for. So if you have any insight, please let me know down in the comments. That's an option. Of course, the little camping stoves or the rocket stoves. They have outdoor ovens. They do have solar ovens. I had considered purchasing one, but quite honestly, I don't know if we'd get enough sunlight to use one of those, especially the time of year I'm most concerned about losing power is in the cooler months, and the sun doesn't shine for weeks on end here. So I don't know if that would be a good option for me, but if you live in a sunny area, you can look into one of those solar ovens. Do you have small humans? Make sure they have seasonally appropriate footwear and clothing, accessories. I can only find one boot. That's the story of my life. But those kiddos grow fast, and I am just thinking ahead here to the cooler months, making sure that they have their snow boots, hats and gloves, winter coats, and of course appropriate clothing for the season. You can also think of yourself in case there is something that you need to replace from last year, depending on what season you're going into. Just want to make sure you have what you need. Water. Water is very important. You want to aim for about a gallon of water per person per day. That adds up really fast in terms of space, so we try and keep like a week's worth on hand. We always have a whole bunch of cases of water bottles as well. Now, after that, we are fortunate to have two sources of water here on our property. We have town water, that's what our house is on, that we are fairly certain is gravity fed. So no matter what, we should have some water coming in, although we probably won't have the same amount of water pressure. That's fine. But if that were to dry up, we do have our own well that was there before the town came through and hooked everybody up. So we still have that. That is actually run out to our garage. It's on an electric pump. So we would have to figure out one of those deep hand pumps for a well. We are looking into that, but we don't have one of those yet. Something else we have nearby is a stream, and with things like that, you're gonna need water filtration, purification in some way. So we have the stream, and we also have rainwater catchment. We're picking up a big IBC tote to put out by the garage, and I just purchased a 50-gallon barrel like drum that looks a little bit nicer that's for up here at the house for us for drinking purposes, and then the IBC tote will be for the animals and the garden or other needs. So I do have a Berkey filter here. I like it. I haven't had any issues with it. I know there's some things going around right now with Berkey about the filters not doing what they say they do. I don't know a whole lot about that. I do know that that has made getting filters very hard for it. I know that there are some like knockoff filters. If you have used any of those and you find them to work well, let me know down in the comments, because that would be great to know another source. I do keep a couple of the filters on hand, but some sort of water filtration system like this, there's a whole bunch of different brands. Look into those, and also like your water purification tablets. Oh, I almost forgot. Life straws. We have a whole bunch of those. We keep them in our go bags. We get them from our local Army surplus store. I think one life straw will filter like 1,000 gallons of water, so that's an option too. So we have food and water for us humans, but what about the animals in your life? You can't forget about them. I just grabbed this because it was nearby. I just picked up a whole bunch of bunny pellets here and some hay. And we also have chickens, so we're gonna grab a few bulk bags of chicken feed as well. Now, worst comes to worst with those animals, we could just set them out to free range. They will be okay with some vegetation for at least a little while here before, you know, hard winter hits, but you have to keep the animals in mind as well. Generator. That is not necessarily a must-have, but it's really nice to have. I know it's a huge investment, and I know money is tight for a lot of people, so totally get that. Quite honestly, how we got one was with the stimulus checks that we got back in like 2020, 2021, somewhere in there. We saw a lump sum of money come in, and we're like, how can we use this most wisely? So we purchased a whole house Generac generator, which we really like. It ties right into the breaker box, and you can pick and choose what it's running. So we were able to save all of the stuff in our freezers when we didn't have power for those 3 days. We were able to run it for like hour increments at a time just to keep the fridge and the freezers cool. So big investment, but definitely worth it if you can. That brings me to fuel. Gasoline, it doesn't store for a super long time. I know there's some additives you can put in there to make it last longer. We haven't done that, but we do keep a few extra gas cans full for the generator if need be, for our vehicles, for our lawnmower or tractor, and we have an ATV. So we do keep some of that extra. And something else that we have just gotten in the habit of doing is keeping all of our vehicle gas tanks completely full. Even if it's only down like a quarter of the way. On the way home, we stop at the nearest gas station and we take it back up to full, just in case. Now, this isn't a necessary thing, but it might be nice, and that is some form of communication. My husband is actually ham radio certified. He did that last year. I know there's things, now I'm not versed in this at all, but like CB radio and different handheld radios that you can get that have like different bandwidths, lengths. I don't know, like I said, I'm not versed in that. Matt would be the one to talk about that, but we do have like a little base station here and a few different handheld radios, and like Matt knows how to hit different repeaters and then talk to a few other of his buddies around the area. So that's something that's nice to have. To go along with that is some sort of like hand crank battery powered or solar powered radio, just in case power is down, you don't have Wi-Fi, just to know what is going on. I don't think I mentioned, but I don't have this list in any certain order. It's just at random how my brain spewed it out. So next I have medicine and first aid kits. We keep first aid kits in our vehicles, in a go bag, and in the house. But I also have my herbal apothecary back here. I keep all of my bulk herbs here for all my different medicine making. I have another cabinet full of, there's some over-the-counter stuff in there. There is different tinctures that I've made, some homeopathics, some cold and flu remedies, that sort of stuff. Coming into these cooler months now, I think it's wise to have those things on hand, to have it before you need it and to use as preventatives. Thankfully, we aren't on any sort of prescription medication. We do take vitamins, minerals, and some other supplements that I keep on hand as well. But if you are someone that is on some sort of prescription medication, it might be wise to see if you get some extra to have on hand. Okay, I'm realizing this video might go longer than I planned. My apologies. Okay, cash. Cash is something that we think you should have on hand. You know, if power goes down, you lose the ability to use the bank, you lose the ability to swipe a card. Cash is king. So we recommend, like, if you can, $500 small bills to keep on hand. If you need to go to a local convenience store, they're going to be operating in cash. Something people don't often think about, but if you're without power, you're without Wi-Fi, your phone dies. I do a lot on my phone. It's really wise to write down phone numbers, addresses, and to also have paper maps, because I use my phone to navigate a lot of times. My husband will chuckle at me. He is a human map, that man. He knows how to get everywhere. I can be like, okay, let's drive to this place in Virginia. And he's like, okay, doesn't need any map. He just somehow figures it out. He's amazing. But that is not me. I need a paper map, and they're really good to have. So those things, and also writing down recipes. I keep so much of my recipes on my phone, or I'll use Pinterest or something. Printing out recipes or writing them down is going to be really helpful. If you need to grab stuff and leave, make sure you have your important documents ready to go in a file or a safe bag or something like that you can just grab and take with you, because you don't want to leave those behind. Now, I think it's important to have a plan in place. If you, let's just use a family scenario here with a husband and a wife, you both work outside of the home, natural disaster would hit, where are you gonna go? Are you gonna go back home and meet? If you have kids and they're in school, how are you getting them? And who's doing what? I think it's really important to have that sort of plan in place in case of emergency. Where do you meet? Where is your safe place? All of those sorts of things. Power bank or solar charger can be useful. We have a little fold-out solar charger for our cell phones. We don't have any big power bank that we could plug anything into, but we do have a generator. So power bank might be good if you can't afford the cost of a generator. This one might push you out of your comfort zone. It's gonna require you to people. It might come as a surprise, but I'm very much an introvert. I can be an extroverted introvert in the right circumstances, but I am very much a homebody, and I don't really like go out and introduce myself or do things like that. But it's very important to build community. Know your neighbors, because if disaster strikes, you're gonna need each other. You're gonna need to depend on each other. So if you don't know them, bake up a batch of cookies and take them around and just see what they're about. Try and strike conversation up and start to build a relationship. It's really important. My kids are now being super rowdy and rambunctious and noisy, so sorry about that. I'm gonna keep pushing forward here. I'm gonna try and do it a bit quicker so this video isn't hours long. Seeds. Seeds are super important, often overlooked. If times get tough, you want a way to provide some food for your family. So get yourself some packs of seeds. You can get like those survival seed banks too, like there's a bunch of seed packets sealed in Mylar bags. You can do that. I just store a bunch of seeds here, and I do know how to save seeds. That is good knowledge to have, knowing how to grow those seeds. And that brings me to my next category, which is books, knowledge, and skills. Those things will not run out. Super important to have. So stock up on some books, gain some knowledge, gain some skills. Next category, self-defense. Something I hope you never would have to use, but good to have. A way to defend you, your family, what you've built, and those around you in your community. During desperate times, people do desperate things, things that are harmful, dangerous, and can affect your safety of all that you have. It is good to have a way to protect them. So whatever that would be for you. And to go along with that, to reinforce your home, your entry points, your windows and doors, curtains and blinds are good so that people can't see in, but also making sure all of the locks are functioning, and then reinforcing if you would want to with some sort of bars or extra deadbolts, that sort of stuff. If that is an area that you're just really unsure about, you would like to learn more, I can get my precious husband to perhaps sit down with me and do a video. He is so knowledgeable on those things. He's a firearms instructor. He is very wise. It's all about safety in those areas. And truly at his core, he is a protector. So if you'd like some more information on just securing your home, homestead, your property, self-defense, let me know in the comments and I'll see if I can get him to do a video with me. Lights, lanterns, candles, headlamps, flashlights, battery and or solar powered. Of course, batteries then as well, keep those stocked up. Sleeping bags and blankets. And then personal hygiene. Shampoo, soap, deodorant, wipes, sanitizer, feminine hygiene. If you are a lady who is still menstruating, look into a menstrual cup. It's gonna save you a whole lot. Toothpaste, floss, contact solution, razors, etc., so on and so forth. Toilet paper, tissues, paper plates, cleaning supplies, bleach, vinegar, disinfecting wipes. If you have infants or small children, always think about diapers, wipes, formula. Now in the age of smartphones, tablets, all the electronic entertainment things, those might not work if there's no power or Wi-Fi. So have some things that don't require electricity to keep you and everyone else in your family busy and entertained. Books, board games, puzzles, things like that. If you're without power for a prolonged period of time, you're gonna need to think about how you're gonna wash and dry your clothing. I just purchased what looks like a plunger. It's an agitator that you can use in a 5-gallon bucket or a bin with soap and water and your dirty clothes, and you just pull it up and down. It just agitates, creates suds to get your clothes clean. You can make your own with just a plunger, drill some holes in it, it should work the same. And then to dry clothes, we have a drying rack for indoor use. If it's raining outside, we do have an outdoor clothesline as well. One more thing, like I said, this is not an exhaustive list. This is just what we have been working towards. If you need to save some of your food from spoilage, knowing how to can, having a way to can, so having a canner, having jars, lids, everything you need on hand, and then I could can on my big propane single burner outside. That maintains the heat pretty well for safe canning. And then also having some knowledge of how to preserve meat in other ways, using salt to preserve. So that kind of goes along with the skills, the knowledge, and books that'll help you out. Now, please just take this list, carefully consider it. You don't have to do it all. Definitely not all at once. Prioritize, see what works within your own budget, what you can afford. I'm not recommending anyone go into debt over this. That's not wise. I believe that if we are doing our part, we are using our finances wisely, that the Lord sees that. If there is something we feel we need to get, but we don't have the resources for it, then just pray about it. God can provide that. Also, see if there's anywhere that you can cut expenses. I know we're living in an inflated economy right now. Things are just really expensive, but is there somewhere that you could cut costs? Do you need to go and get coffee every day? Those things really add up. Do you need to eat out every week? Do you need all your subscriptions? You know, there's just a lot of things that we can take inventory of and see how we could be better using our money. And then also, don't be afraid to go and source things secondhand, to look at discount stores, and to also shop sales. I will keep different carts online full of things just to watch prices. I will keep a mental note of how expensive things are, and if I see something goes on sale, then I try to take advantage of that. A suggestion with love: limit the amount of social media and the news outlets you are consuming. It can very quickly send one off the deep end. I believe it's important to know what's going on, but like I said, we can't allow it to consume us, control us, or have us living in fear. We need balance. We can decide how we allow it to affect us, how we view the world, and what we do about it. Pray for wisdom, pray for discernment, crucial to the times we are living in. Know what you can control, what you can't. Just do the next right thing in front of you. If you have any questions for me, let me know down in the comments. If you have any tips for me or suggestions for me or anyone else to read, please feel free to leave them as well. I think we need to come together, help one another, build that community. It's really, really important. I hope that this was helpful to you. I hope that you see, if you didn't before, that there is wisdom in being prepared for whatever life throws at us. I hope you have a plan moving forward. Like I said, I just want to make sure I'm doing my part so that you're safe and you're thriving, you have what you need, and then in turn, you can do the same for other people. There's wisdom in being prepared. Thank you for hanging out with me. You have a blessed week, and I will see you next time. Take care.